Here we are with Mariam, and hey Mariam, how you doing?
Good, how are you?
Very well, thanks. So we introduced you briefly in our last episode with your partner Dean, who is now in the back seat with a big smile on his face because he just took the car for a spin. And yeah, now it's your turn. So
I'm excited, a little bit nervous.
You got nothing to worry about. It's a super safe car, and yeah, I'm sure you're going to be totally fine. So we'll get you set up.
Yeah.
So you can adjust your seat with the little button down the side, right hand side there. And so there's like a flat one at the front.
Okay.
And that'll move like forward and backwards and up and down.
Just don't sit the top.
Okay.
Yeah. And then the steering, you can adjust the steering wheel like this as well. And it sounds really cool as well.
You can bring it forward here?
Oh yeah, so if you actually push this button like left and right.
Okay.
Yeah. That's it. And then we'll just get your mirrors set up. So left mirror, same thing. Yeah, you can push the button left and right and scroll up and down.
Cool.
And the right one. Oh, actually, it's still the left button.
Oh, is it?
Yep.
There you go. Well, that's all good.
Yep. And then yeah, if you're
just manual.
Yeah, that's just manual.
Going back to caveman times.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's like I've been saying the manual rear vision mirror. It's like a homage to old cars.
Sure is.
Cool. You probably saw a lot of the features when we introed Dean before, so we can probably just get straight into it if you like. So if you just pop your foot on the brake, there we go, and so you're driving the forward and reverse is just on the right hand paddle, and your indicators on this side, and hard down on the right paddle will put you into drive.
Okay. So we're going?
Yeah, all you need to do is push the accelerator. It always feels weird when you're taking off for the first time without the noise.
This is like, I feel like a Make-A-Wish kid.
Oh, really?
I've been like talking about Teslas for so long, and actually being in one now is so exciting.
Yeah. So you're a bit of a Tesla fan as well?
Yeah, like I like looking at photos and stuff, but I haven't really delved deep into the company and all that yet.
Yeah, you can watch a lot of YouTubes on Tesla. There's so many different YouTube channels out there.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's a pretty incredible company. Then you have indicators outside.
I think I've turned one of the headlights
on. They should go on and off automatically, I think.
Okay.
They should be fine, yeah. How's that feeling?
It's really good.
Yeah.
It's really weird not having like a dash in front of you with the speed limit and having to look over.
Yeah. Yeah, that takes a little bit of getting used to. Oh, and I'll just show you so if you push the accelerator, see that little black line there?
Yeah.
That's drawing off the battery, and then if you let your foot off, that's all regenerative braking. So you can drive it without the brake. You probably need the brake again. All right, so we'll go for another like 5 or 10 minutes up to the straight, and then we can do your little 0 to 100.
Very excited for that.
But in the meantime, want to also chat to you about the social work that you do. You're studying social work, is that right?
So I'm currently in my third year of my social work degree at the UTAS, and yeah, it's been pretty interesting so far. Kind of deviating from the norm as it's been online so far, but really interesting stuff.
Is that because of COVID?
Yeah, it has been because of COVID. I'm on placement right now, and even that is online, but I'm enjoying it for what it's worth.
Yep. And is your work mainly with youth as well, or is it a bit more broad?
So outside of my social work degree, I work as a youth worker, but the degree itself is pretty broad. We cover a lot, really. So the first 2 years are almost a Bachelor of Arts degree.
Mm-hmm.
So I did units in criminology, sociology and psychology.
Mm-hmm.
And this year is when we've really gotten into like the social work aspects of it, like the frameworks and whatnot.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. And I think I mentioned before, one of the units that we did this year was, I forgot what it was called, but I think it was sustainability and social work or something like that. And we really spoke about climate change and just how the impacts it could have on different groups of people.
Mm-hmm.
So obviously there's the mental health aspect of it where, you know, having the instability of the future, not knowing what's going to happen or how things are going to work, really takes an effect on young people, especially because they're the ones that are going to have to deal with it in the future.
Yeah.
But also for people in regional areas, people in developing countries, like they tend to have the least impact on the climate, but they're going to be the most affected by it. So people living on islands, like in Tasmania, for example, with the high tides and everything, it's going to put us at risk in the future.
Yeah.
And so it'd be good for more people to start getting into renewable energy to prevent that, but it's going to be a lot of hard work to get there, I reckon.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's something with the climate crisis, it's something that's not often spoken about is the anxiety and the mental health impacts that are going to come with the impacts of climate change, and the anxiety about the future. It's going to be a huge issue, I think. But I think that can change when we get when our governments around the world start getting serious about action on climate change and serious about accelerating the uptake of renewable energy and EVs, and when people start seeing that will provide a lot of hope for people. I think a lot of the anxiety for young people around climate change is associated with the inaction on climate change, seeing the problem but watching our political leaders do nothing about it is one of the most gut-wrenching things about the whole problem, I think.
I think what you mentioned there about the political leaders is really important because, like you said, young people are really anxious, and I think for people in our generation especially, they tend to be more aware of climate change and its risks, and they try to minimize their carbon footprint and all that, but it's more so to do with the big companies and their impacts. That's what's going to make the big changes, but that's just not happening yet.
Yeah.
And through all the protests and that activation, I've forgotten the word.
Activism
that's happening. I mean, I suppose some companies are taking the steps, but the big companies, the oil companies, aren't ready to let go of their status yet.
Yeah, exactly. And there's some statistic, I'm probably going to get it wrong, but there's something like 100. There's 100 companies that are responsible for like 70% of global emissions.
Wow. So
there are just a handful of companies that are really like responsible for this, and the government. I mean, the Australian government is especially bad. Where we have the worst climate policy in the world. We have the slowest rate of uptake of electric vehicles in the world as well.
Yeah.
But on the flip side, the climate movement is growing. You know, every year, more and more people are joining climate groups. You know, Extinction Rebellion, school strikers, becoming more organised, and the faster that the faster the movement grows, the more political pressure will be put on governments and companies to act. I think even this year, even in the last few months, you can feel that around the world it is really starting to take off as an issue now.
I think, like you said, this year and last year, especially with all there's been a lot of natural disasters. Like we had the fires in Australia. I believe that was early last year.
Yeah.
And then all the fires that have been happening in the US, the floods. It's becoming very apparent now that the climate crisis is here, and we have to take action as soon as possible.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And in Europe as well, the fires in Greece and Turkey, and the floods in Germany. You've had like horrendous fires in the Mediterranean, and then in Germany you've had just record-breaking flooding that's washed away entire villages.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think now it has been a massive, and it's also the IPCC report that came out last week was very alarming. I feel like it's a oh shit moment for the world now, which we really need to have.
Yeah. So what was the IPCC report about? I haven't read that yet.
So the latest IPCC, I haven't read the report either, but I've read a lot of reports on the report, and basically it's saying that if the world doesn't take drastic action to reduce emissions over the next 10 years, that the world will sail past 1.5 degrees and potentially go into kind of runaway catastrophic climate change. So it's the projections have been brought forward, or things are getting worse faster than what they had anticipated in the last report. So it's kind of like now or never, really, for the world.
That's interesting, considering how much more people are aware now, and people are trying to do all those small things to make changes. So I wonder where that increase is coming from.
Well, I mean, things like the Australian government, we can talk about that a bit more in a sec, but this is actually a really good, maybe just around this curve. This would be a good spot to do the little acceleration. I reckon. Maybe just here. Yeah. I think there's no one behind you, so you're all good. So come all the way to a complete stop.
Tied to the phone.
And when you're ready, Mariam, you can completely plant your foot and do 0 to 100.
Okay, you ready?
Go, all the way, hold it.
That's so exciting. That's definitely an addictive feeling.
It's very addictive. Just let your foot off now. And wait till this car goes past. Let it come down, just let it come down to 60. And now hit it again hard. Oh.
I love that.
You feel safe and in control?
Yeah, definitely. It's just that first initial feeling of getting pushed back that's a little bit like, oh, but it definitely feels safe, and I like the steering wheel is very stable.
Yeah, like if you did that in a normal car, you'd feel like you'd have to really focus and be in control, but
Straight here again, wanna try it?
yeah, you can go again if you want, up to you. Nice, and it's a great spot to do it as well. But yeah, so the countries like Australia, getting back to what we were talking about, Australia hasn't actually decreased its emissions at all, really. They've used this kind of dodgy accounting to make it look like our emissions are coming down, but all they've done is stop deforestation, essentially. So the emissions from our energy sector haven't really changed at all over the last 10 years. So Australia's really been using a lot of sneaky tactics on that, and really the Australian government has been essentially infiltrated by the fossil fuel industry. So you've got so many members of parliament who have strong connections to the coal, oil and gas industry. Like Matt Canavan, who's a senator, his brother owns a large stake in the largest coal mine in Australia. So these people are tasked with making decisions in the best interest of the public. But actually, they just represent the billionaires in the coal, oil, and gas industries, and this is the massive problem that we've got. All the solutions are there, all the technology's there. We could have gone to 100% renewables, 10, 15, maybe 20 years ago. But the government has actually been suppressing and delaying renewables and electric vehicles because renewables and electric vehicles are a threat to the profits of the coal, oil and gas industry. And that's for me, like, that's the most tragic thing about the climate crisis, is that it's totally avoidable.
That's very interesting you say that, because as you were speaking, I was just thinking about Australia as a country and like how much access we would have to renewable energies if we chose to go that way. Like in Tasmania, we have the hydro network, which uses water to create energy, and we just have so much sun in Australia. Like if solar panels were utilised, we would definitely have less of a need for coal and all those fuels. So
we're basically the perfect country for renewable energy.
Essentially.
If you could like design a country to be optimized for renewable energy, it would be Australia. Like, yeah, and the thing about Tassie is really interesting. Like Tassie is exporting renewable energy to the mainland, and if Tassie can continue to produce more renewable energy, export it to the mainland, it can actually undercut the coal industry and start having an impact on reducing fossil fuels on the mainland by doing that as well. And so, the dream for Tassie is 100% renewables. They're already basically there, and then 100% electric vehicles charged off renewable energy. Would be incredible.
I haven't spent much time in real estate in Australia, but I feel like that is something that seems more of a reality here, since we're not such a big city. Our population density isn't that bad, and because Tasmanians have such a love for their nature, I think they'll be interested in doing something like that to maintain what we have, to avoid the deforestation and everything like that.
Yeah, absolutely. And so, did you do units on climate trauma, that kind of stuff, or was it part of a course, part of any of the units that you did?
So the one unit that we did wasn't necessarily climate trauma. It was about regenerative cultures in a way. So we spoke a lot about how Indigenous knowledge, like Indigenous cultures have a lot of knowledge when it comes to climate change, and how if we hadn't taken on Western ideas, I suppose, we wouldn't be where we are now, because a lot of Indigenous cultures know how to work off of the land, know how to be, I don't know how to word it necessarily, but
They were already living sustainably,
exactly,
basically.
yeah. They're all pretty sustainable, so
They were sustainable for like 40,000 years, basically. Yeah.
So colonization has had a big impact on that, and how we are where we are now, and capitalism as well has a big impact on that, like the need for money, the need to always
Expand and grow.
yeah. So our cohort of social workers has had a big focus on decolonising social work and decolonising our practice, and just getting back to Indigenous knowledges and learning from different groups of people to create a better future.
So what does that that sounds really interesting. So what does that involve on a practical level? Decolonisation like that.
It's a lot of collaboration. So working with different groups of people. So in Tasmania, it's just taking about taking time to interact with Indigenous leaders and Indigenous communities to see how they did things before and how they're maintaining that sustainability. In our practice, it's once again collaborating with different groups of people to see what they need and assisting them rather than imposing our views on them.
and there just must be so much knowledge there that we can benefit from. Even with, I've heard like Indigenous backburning, the way that traditional owners do backburning to reduce fire risk. So using traditional methods of backburning bush to try to decrease those risks. I mean, that kind of knowledge is going to be so critical in the future for Australia to basically protect our communities from climate.
Definitely. I hadn't heard of that backburning before. That sounds really interesting, actually.
Yeah. I don't know a lot about it, but I know that traditional owners have always done backburning, but they do it in a particular way where the fire is controlled and it doesn't do like too much damage. And I heard that there was a fire in Hobart a few years ago in South Hobart. My friend lives not far from where it was, and it was the fire department were trying to do some backburning to remove some of the fuel load. The fire got like out of control and has decimated this part of South Hobart, and it's not growing back. Whereas I think the methods that traditional owners use, they kept the fires quite low, or they weren't as intense, and able to get rid of some of that fuel load, but not kill everything off like these other fires do. So I
think that's where the collaboration comes into it. Like, with colonization came a lot of assumptions that like the Western way is the best way of doing things, and just imposing that idea, not taking time to, take knowledge from the people that have been there, like you said, for thousands of years and have been able to maintain the land. So hopefully we as a culture are able to do that more and just protect the land.
Yeah. Hopefully more and more Australians are recognising the value of that knowledge and how it can make all of our lives so much better. Also know like New Zealand is also a long way ahead on this kind of stuff as well. They really integrate Maori culture into New Zealand culture more broadly as well. And I've heard also recently that they have now like 1,000-year plan for rewilding New Zealand. Like just the concept of 1,000-year plan. Like imagine being part of that, being someone that's working to rewild parts of Tassie, and you're part of such a massive project that's way bigger.
I can't even fathom that.
Yeah, I think we could learn a lot from New Zealand as well.
I think New Zealand is pretty ahead of us as well, just in terms of their action on climate. Like the little bits and pieces that I hear, it just sounds like a great country.
Yeah, they're fortunate enough not to have Murdoch press in New Zealand, which probably makes a huge difference. Basically, all the countries that have been lagging on a lot of these environmental and progressive issues are dominated by Murdoch Press News Corp. It's basically Australia, the US, and the UK. So if we could just rid ourselves of News Corp, maybe we could become a version of New Zealand over here.
Maybe. I think we're really fortunate that we live in the time that we are now, where people aren't so reliant in the News Corp, like with social media, like your YouTube channel, just Instagram pages and all that. People are able to express different ideas and just spread information. I mean, it's a double-edged sword because there's all the false information as well, but you have the option to do your own research and find sources for yourself.
Absolutely. I think that is a hugely important topic as well, like the decentralisation of the media. And you're seeing it a lot in the US as well, where you've got these YouTube channels that have really grown over the last few years, and more people are getting their information, their news from these decentralised kind of channels. In Australia, we have like Juice Media, who do incredible content about really important issues, and they're growing so fast. A couple of months ago, they had like 600,000 followers, and then a month later, they had 700,000 followers. So they added 100,000 followers in a single month, and I think more and more people are leaving like television, commercial TV stations like Channel 7, Channel 9, and moving to YouTube. Decentralisation is a great thing in so many different aspects. Decentralisation of media is important. Decentralisation of energy production is also important. So I think those trends are really positive.
Juice Media were in trouble a couple of months ago, weren't they? There was an issue with them.
Oh, really?
I think so.
Oh, did they have to change like a letter in their name or something? Because they were saying, I know they've changed the spelling of Australian government to use like an E instead of an A, so that they could avoid impersonating the government.
Right.
I'm not sure when they did that. That might be
sure what it was. But yeah, might have been the Murdoch media as well, just trying to suppress them.
Yeah. Well, they did a fantastic clip a couple months ago on how the climate scientists at the CRO are being kind of gagged as well. How the CSIRO has kind of been co-opted by a bunch of oil and gas companies. Yeah.
That'd be an interesting video. Was it a video you said, or a read?
Yeah, it's like a 5-minute clip, but there's so much information in there. None of the other, even the ABC hasn't been reporting on this at all. But yeah, basically the CSIRO has kind of been captured by these companies as well. Yeah, the whole climate thing, it's incredibly depressing, but there's also so many things to be hopeful about at the same time. And when change happens, it can change very quickly. It can feel like it's not changing, but then it can accelerate.
Yeah, that's how it tends to be with a lot of things. So all the steps that are happening now, it'll be interesting to see where we are in like 5-10 years. Like you said, it doesn't feel like much now, but it is accumulating. Like with the school strikes and that, just the information that's getting out there and bringing attention and awareness to the issue.
Yeah. And imagine what those kids are going to be like in like 5 years' time. Yeah. They're going to be absolute political weapons. Like that generation, Gen Z, is it?
Gen Z, yeah.
Yeah. When they're like in their 20s and 30s, they are going to be an unstoppable political force. I think.
Hopefully, it's not too late by then.
Yeah. Yeah. Fingers crossed. How's the drive feeling? All right?
Very good.
Yeah.
So smooth.
You want to try the self-driving?
Yeah.
Double tap down.
That feels so weird.
You can just if you keep your hands just handy, should be fine though. But and soon it'll just prompt you to just touch the wheel.
Yeah.
This is a little bit of a rough road, but it should be still fine. Just touch it a little bit more. I just turn it slightly. That's it. And now you're driving. You're driving. That's it. You're good. That's it. Now you're back in.
So you don't apply it, but just tap. It's difficult to like get into.
It's just a light touch, but it'll pop up with a little message here soon. This will be fine. This will take this.
Was it trying to turn?
Did that try to turn then? That did it.
Like it did.
Yeah, I think it was going to, but then it picked up the line. Yeah.
It'd be definitely I don't know how possible it would be to have this in more developing countries where the roads aren't as straight and the lines aren't there and whatnot.
Yeah. I did see something the other day because they're testing the full self-driving package, and someone did comment that even without lines, it's starting to get pretty good.
Really?
That's the beta package that I don't have. But yeah, there will be, with full autonomy, there'll be some upgrades that will be needed for roads and stuff like that. But yeah, I think that'll all come. And you'll see it's picked up these cars in front as well.
Yeah.
How's that feeling? All right? Yeah.
I think I like having the safety of just having my hands on there because I'm not used to it yet.
Yeah, it does take a little bit to get comfortable with it. So
I would have slowed down by itself.
Yeah, it would have. That's all good. Now you can give it some acceleration. No, I never miss an opportunity to do that.
Have you travelled around Tasmania much, or have you just been in Hobart?
Mainly in Hobart because of the pine cone incident.
Oh yeah.
It's kind of knocked me out for 3 weeks, but I'm hoping to. I'll probably be in Hobart for another 2 weeks, I reckon, and then I'll probably try to head out to some regional towns around the state. Do you have any tips or any recommendations of places I should go?
Probably Cradle Mountain, I think, would be mine.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, it's very nice up there, and it's a very naturesque drive, so it'd be good to take a car there.
Yeah. Oh, there'd be some beautiful drives around.
Definitely.
Yeah. I was going to go to Rosebery and a few of those towns on the west coast as well.
Let's go.
Yeah.
I haven't really been to the west coast much. But I know there's a lot of nice drives out there, like Wineglass Bay and the Bay of Fires and all that.
Is that on the west coast as well? Or is
I think that's the east coast.
that's the east coast side? Yeah, I've heard Wineglass Bay is amazing. Reynolds, the mayor of Hobart, a few weeks ago as well. Took her for a drive, which is really good, and she actually has an electric vehicle herself, and she's really pro EV, which is great. I'm also hoping that I could possibly get the Premier of Tasmania, Peter Gutwin. Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like he'd be very keen for it. He seems quite progressive.
Yeah, I've heard that. I've heard he's done some great things for Tassie, and that he is kind of trying to get the state to go further on electric vehicles. I think I saw a few posts of his over the last few weeks at new charging stations around the state. So it sounds like he's quite pro EV as well.
I didn't even know where we had charging stations. Well, obviously we would have to have them, but I just thought a lot of drivers would have the chargers at their house.
Yeah, I think that's how most people do it. If you've got a garage, you just charge in your own garage, and then the fast chargers are really only for when you're traveling between cities, or if you don't have a garage.
How does the installation work for the garages?
The installation. So with Tesla, you get a wall-mounted unit with the car, and then you just need an electrician to put that in, and that I think it costs like $1,000 or something. But the wall-mounted unit will get around 50 kilometers an hour, which will easily give you a full charge overnight.
Yeah.
And if you don't have the wall-mounted unit, there's also a cable that you can plug in, just like directly into the plug, into your wall plug, and so that's basically that's all right. I've still got this one going. So that gets around 10 kilometers per hour.
Okay.
So when I was up in central Queensland and there was no charging stations, I was just using that cable, And do you know Bob Catter? Have you heard of Bob Catter? He's a politician from Queensland.
Yeah.
So
it takes me back to high school when I was doing legal studies. There was this really weird video of him. I can't remember what he was doing, but he just sounded very funny in it.
I think he's made a lot of weird videos. But I put a tweet out when we started the channel. I put a tweet out and said, if Bob Catter's keen for a drive, I'll drive the car to Charters Towers. And where I grew up, the town where I grew up, it's about 370 kilometres from Charters Towers.
Yeah.
So I put the tweet out, and then a few days later I got a call from his staff saying that he was keen. So I drove it up there, and I got to Charters Towers and I only had like 13 kilometres left on the charge. But then I had to charge it overnight, and because there's no fast chargers in Charters Towers, I had to run a cable into my hotel room and like plug it into where the kettle is normally plugged just to charge it overnight. But it got the job done. Like I got an extra 180 k's overnight, and then had enough to take Bob for a drive.
So the cord that you take with you, so you can just plug that into any wall?
Yep.
Oh.
Yeah.
I want to go really fast.
Yeah, nice. Take every opportunity.
There's no cars behind me.
It's got behind me. Oh.
Not sick of doing that yet?
No. I don't think I will be.
Nice. Yeah, so that's around 3.3 seconds, and the Model S Plaid, which was announced a few weeks ago, that does 0 to 100 in 1.9 seconds. So that will make this thing feel like a golf buggy.
I don't know why you would ever need to do that, but I like having the option.
Yeah, it's nice to know it's there.
Yeah. It'd be so nice just driving on a highway not needing to do this.
Yeah, this is a much better spot for autopilot. This you got like slow corner, not so many tight bends.
It does feel really weird though. I feel kind of guilty not being at the steering wheel, not holding it.
Yeah. These roads like this, it's a bread and butter for autopilot. That's it. Nice. And yeah, it'll slow down behind this car.
Yeah.
So you can see your max there. You can scroll that up or down with that scroll.
Yeah. So it's this one here.
Yep. And so even though it's at 110, 111 max, it's dropped down to 99, 98 behind this car. And another little thing that I found out recently, if you push it left or right, it'll actually change how far. So just push it a few more times the other way. See, that's bringing out, you can keep going all the way to like 7. Oops. There we go. So now that's the distance, how far back from the car it'll sit. So it'll drop back a little bit.
And does it merge lanes automatically, like if you need to go inside?
Not in Australia, but if we were in the US right now on autopilot and it came up behind this car and it was slowing down, it would actually indicate overtake and then go back into the lane all by itself.
Can't wait to have that here.
Yeah. Yeah. So I mean, it's great for passenger cars, but imagine like freight. So Tesla's bringing out this semi-truck, right?
Yeah.
So imagine like a truck driver drives the truck out of a city, say Melbourne to Sydney. Truck driver drives it out, puts it on the freeway, and then it drives autonomously to Sydney, and then another truck driver maybe picks it up just to take it the last leg. Like that would totally be. I mean, the technology's already there to do that. Really.
Yeah, definitely. Because I know truck driving can be really dangerous with the long distances and whatnot, so that might make it a safer journey. But it'd be interesting to see how truck drivers feel about that, like getting
there's going to be a lot of disruption with this transition, and politically, politicians will try to scare people about losing jobs.
Yeah.
But the reality is that the government has the capacity to support everyone who's at risk of losing a job.
Yeah.
And we talked about this a bit earlier. Like the the government recently with JobKeeper last year, it's been reported that around $25 billion of JobKeeper has gone to large companies and billionaires who didn't actually qualify for JobKeeper.
Yeah.
Now, $25 billion, right? That's enough to pay every coal miner in Australia $100,000 for 6 years, right? So the money that was lost through JobKeeper rewards could pay each one of the 40,000 Australian coal miners $100,000 a year for 6 years. So the government will often say, "Oh, we want to protect the coal industry because of jobs." It's complete bullshit, right? Because the government can just support these people, and we want them to do that. We want the fossil fuel workers to have a bridge, really. And it'll be the same with when autonomous driving disrupts truck driving or delivery drivers. The government can support all those people during the transition.
And I think it is about that transition because it feels almost inevitable that technology is going to take over. So I think it's just preparing those people to move into different sectors or just training them to work in that sector but in a different way.
Exactly. But that's the kind of stuff we need to be having those conversations now. Start planning for it. Alright, so we're coming into Hobart. We have to go to the bridge.
Have you been up to Mount Wellington yet?
Yeah, I've been a couple times, and I did I hiked up there about 2 weeks ago as well. Not from right at the bottom, from around Fern Tree.
Yeah.
Which was still, I think it was like a 4 hour round trip.
I don't know if I could do that.
No?
I think I've hiked up the mountain once and it was when I was like 10.
Oh, really? Yeah, it was a bit hard going, but like hiking like that, it seems tough at the time, but it's so satisfying as well. And yeah, we went past the what are they called? The organ pipes. Went past there as well, and I can't believe they're actually considering putting a cable car.
I don't think that's happening anymore.
Oh, really?
I mean, it's still in discussion, but I think it got stopped.
Oh, awesome.
Yeah.
I just can't believe it was even proposed.
I don't know. I feel like it will happen, but yeah, maybe not for a couple more years. But
the community's kind of backlash against it, is it?
Most of the community is against it, but you know, for the sake of tourism and expanding the economy, I think it's going to happen one day. And it's just, I don't know, it's very disrespectful to the traditional owners of the land and what the mountain means to them.
Massively. And surely, like, Tassie has so much natural beauty.
Yeah.
We don't need a cable car to get people down here. People want to come down here to see the beautiful forests and everything else.
Exactly. If anything, I think they need to promote the natural side of Tasmania more. Like, we were speaking about how, like, I think Dean mentioned the limit on the sky rays and everything. We're known for being natural and having just a, you know, calm, chill state. So I think it's very important to maintain that.
Absolutely, yeah. And how's we're getting into a bit more traffic now. How's it, like the city driving feeling all right as well?
Good.
Yeah.
I feel like I'm not doing anything. It's just like it's not on the.
Oh, jump in this lane here, and then try to get up next to that car at the lights, and then you can show them who's boss. All right, we're just at the lights here, and I'm about to blow these guys' minds. I never miss an opportunity, especially if I see like a Porsche or a BMW. I have to like just roll up next to them, look over, smile.
I don't think it's too keen to look at us.
If you look in your rear vision mirror, probably they're still way back there.
Yeah.
Yeah, so this charging station that we're about to go to, it's actually free. So I'm not sure if it's the state government or the council, but yeah, this is where I've been charging pretty much every day since I've been here.
And is it one of the fast chargers?
It's not too bad. I get around 250 kilometers per hour, which is okay. But I mean, compared to the Tesla charging stations are getting. The version 2 ones are getting 800 kilometers an hour.
Oh, wow.
And the version 3 are getting like 1,500 kilometers an hour.
Wow.
So that's 500 k's in about 20 minutes.
That's insane.
Yeah.
I wish my phone would charge that fast.
Yeah. Oh, it'd be pretty cool if Tesla started making phones, I think.
Didn't they have a limited edition phone or something?
Not that I know of. I haven't heard of that.
Oh no, that was their alcohol.
Oh, the tequila. Yeah.
That was a really
With
cool
the lightning
shape.
bolt one, yeah. They were selling like hot pants at one point as well.
Really? And the flamethrowers?
And the flamethrowers, yeah, all kinds of stuff. It's just this one here.
Turning in here?
Yep. And then it's just down the end, last one on the left. This is where I met Dean.
Yeah. Round the spot.
Yeah.
We've come full circle.
Yeah.
Yes.
Full circle.
Reverse
I've
park,
actually,
reverse park.
yeah, just reverse into there. Speaking of full circle, I've actually got a book called Full Circle.
Ah,
Just here.
what are the
What's
odds?
it about?
This is by Scott Ludlam, who was a Green senator, and he, it's about climate change and climate politics and all that kind of stuff.
Cool.
So if you just look at it's probably easier to look at your camera. Yeah, you can just back it up to this one here. That's good. And then the button on the end is the park button. Just the one on the end of the paddle. Yeah, that's it. Done. All right, Mariam.
Thank you so much for that.
Yeah, thanks very much for driving this electric vehicle today.
Can't wait to have my own.
Yeah, and it's been fascinating talking to you about the social work and the other issues that we're going to need to deal with the climate crisis. So all the best with your career as well.
Thank you. Good luck with the channel.
Great, thanks very much.